Chosen one. After every delay, God is finally sending your biggest victory yet, chosen one. Before you scroll away, listen carefully. What if I told you that the delay you've been fighting, the disappointment you've been carrying, and the silent battles no one knows about, were never signs that God forgot you? What if the very thing that made you question your future is actually the reason your biggest victory is now approaching? Take a deep breath and stay with me for a moment, because what you're about to hear may be exactly what your heart needs today. There is a reason this message found you. There is a reason you clicked on this video. And there is a reason you feel something inside you telling you not to leave. For months, maybe even years, you've been waiting. Waiting for answers. Waiting for doors to open. Waiting for prayers to be answered. Waiting for something to finally change. And if you're honest, there were moments when you almost gave up. Moments when you wondered if your efforts even mattered. Moments when it felt like everyone else was moving forward while you remained stuck in the same place. But chosen one, hear this carefully. God has not been ignoring your prayers. He has been preparing your path. Sometimes the greatest blessings require the longest preparation. A tree that grows quickly can fall quickly, but a tree with deep roots can survive any storm. And God has been building roots in you that you cannot yet see. Every disappointment taught you something. Every setback strengthened something. Every closed door protected something. Even the seasons that felt empty were shaping you for what comes next. You thought you were losing time. God was building character. You thought nothing was happening. God was working behind the scenes. You thought the delay meant no. But heaven was simply saying, not yet. Chosen one, there is something many people never understand. The people who carry the greatest purpose often face the greatest resistance, because whenever God is preparing someone for something significant, there is always a season of preparation before the season of elevation. Joseph experienced it. David experienced it. Esther experienced it. And perhaps you are experiencing it right now. The struggle was never proof that you were forgotten. The struggle was proof that you were being prepared. Think about everything you've survived. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the disappointments, the lonely nights, the moments when nobody understood what you were carrying. Yet somehow, you're still here. You're still standing. You're still believing. You're still searching for God's voice. And that alone is evidence that His hand has never left you. Many people would have quit by now. Many people would have surrendered to bitterness. Many people would have allowed fear to take control. But something inside you kept moving forward, not because you're perfect, not because you're stronger than everyone else, but because God placed something unique inside your spirit, a purpose, a calling, a destiny that cannot be canceled by temporary setbacks. Chosen one. I need you to understand something today. Your story is not ending in delay. Your story is not ending in disappointment. Your story is not ending in confusion. The chapter you're living right now is only a transition, and transitions often feel uncomfortable because they happen between where you were and where God is taking you. That's why things may feel uncertain. That's why some relationships have changed. That's why certain doors have closed. That's why old patterns are falling apart. God is making room for something new, and when God prepares something new, He often removes what no longer belongs in your future. You may not understand every detail today. You may not see the full picture yet. But one day you will look back and realize that every delay served a purpose. Every obstacle taught a lesson. Every waiting season built strength. And every tear watered the ground for the blessing that was growing beneath the surface. Right now, while others see delay, heaven sees preparation. While others see weakness, heaven sees growth. While others see uncertainty, heaven sees divine timing. God is not late. God is not confused. God is not trying to figure out your future. He already knows where He's leading you, and what He is preparing is greater than what you thought you lost. So today, stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. Stop allowing temporary struggles to define permanent truths. Stop believing that a delayed answer means a denied blessing, because the same God who guided you through every difficult season is still guiding you now. The same God who protected you yesterday is protecting you today, and the same God who placed a purpose inside your heart is preparing to reveal it in ways you never expected. Chosen one. Your waiting season is teaching you something important. The blessing isn't just about what God is going to give you, it's about who you are becoming while you wait. Because when the right moment arrives, you won't just receive a victory, you'll be ready to carry it. And that changes everything, because many people think the blessing is the destination. But God knows the person you become during the waiting season is often more valuable than the blessing itself. Chosen one, let me ask you something. If God had given you everything you prayed for 2 years ago, would you have been ready for it? Would you have had the wisdom to protect it? The maturity to manage it? The faith to sustain it? Perhaps the answer is no, and that is not a criticism. It is evidence of God's love. Because a loving father does not simply give his children what they want. He prepares them for what they need. That is why some doors remained closed. That is why certain opportunities disappeared. That is why some people walked away from your life. At the time it felt painful, it felt unfair, it felt confusing. But today God wants you to see those moments differently. What looked like rejection was often protection. What looked like loss was often redirection. And what looked like delay was often divine preparation. Right now there are things happening that you cannot see. Conversations are taking place. Opportunities are forming. Connections are being aligned. Doors are being positioned. And God is arranging details that would be impossible for you to arrange on your own. This is why you must not lose hope now. Not when you've come this far. Not when you've survived everything that was meant to break you. Not when God is closer than ever to revealing what he has been preparing. Chosen one. Have you noticed something strange lately? Despite all the challenges, despite all the uncertainty, there is still a small voice inside you that refuses to quit. A quiet confidence, a gentle hope, a feeling that something is about to change. You may not understand why you feel it. You may not even be able to explain it. But your spirit senses what your eyes cannot yet see. Something is shifting. The season is changing. The weight you've been carrying for so long is beginning to lift. And even though circumstances may not look different yet, something inside you is becoming stronger. This is important because breakthrough often begins internally before it appears externally. Before the door opens, faith grows. Before the victory appears, courage increases. Before the miracle arrives, peace begins to settle in your heart, and perhaps that is exactly what is happening to you right now. Maybe God is teaching you how to trust him beyond what you can see. Maybe he is teaching you how to walk by faith instead of fear. Maybe he is showing you that your future does not depend on circumstances. It depends on him. Chosen one. There are people who gave up one step before their breakthrough. People who stopped believing just before the answer arrived. People who turned around when they were closer than they realized. Don't make that mistake. Stay faithful. Stay hopeful. Stay connected to God's promises. Because your story is still being written, and God has not brought you this far to abandon you now. The enemy wanted you exhausted. God is making you stronger. The enemy wanted you discouraged. God is building resilience. The enemy wanted you to believe the delay meant defeat. God is preparing a testimony. One day people will ask how you kept going, how you survived, how you remained faithful during the hardest seasons, and your answer will be simple. God carried me, not your strength, not your intelligence, not your resources. God, the same God who watched over you during every sleepless night, the same God who heard every prayer you whispered through tears, the same God who stood beside you when nobody else understood your struggle. He never left, not for a single moment, even when you felt alone, even when heaven seemed silent, even when nothing made sense. God was still working. And now, chosen one, the seeds planted during those difficult seasons are beginning to grow. You cannot see every result yet, but growth is happening. Healing is happening. Restoration is happening. Preparation is happening. And soon what has been growing beneath the surface will become impossible to ignore. The breakthrough you prayed for may not arrive exactly how you imagined, but it will arrive exactly how God intended, and His plans are always greater than our expectations. So don't allow fear to steal your peace. Don't allow doubt to steal your confidence, and don't allow temporary delays to convince you that your future is limited. Because your future is not limited, your purpose is not canceled, and your story is far from over. In fact, what if the chapter ahead becomes the chapter that explains every struggle behind you? What if the blessing coming next is so meaningful that it finally makes sense why God asked you to wait? Stay with me, chosen one. Because what God is preparing next may be far greater than anything you've imagined. Stay with me, chosen one. Because what God is preparing next may be far greater than anything you've imagined. There are moments in life when everything appears unchanged on the outside, yet everything is changing beneath the surface. This is one of those moments. You may still see the same surroundings, the same responsibilities, the same unanswered questions, the same challenges that have followed you for months. But something is different now. You are different. The person who entered the storm is not the same person emerging from it. The waiting season has transformed you in ways you do not fully recognize yet. You have become stronger, wiser, more patient, more dependent on God. And that transformation is preparing you for what comes next. Chosen one. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that God's silence means God's absence. But silence is often where the deepest work happens. Seeds grow in silence, roots develop in silence, character is built in silence, and many of God's greatest miracles begin in places where nobody can see them. Perhaps that is why this season has felt so confusing. You expected immediate answers. God was creating lasting foundations. You wanted a quick solution. God was preparing a permanent breakthrough. You wanted relief. God was creating transformation, and transformation always takes longer than temporary comfort. Think about the person you were before this season began. Think about the fears that once controlled you. Think about the insecurities that once defined you. Think about the doubts that once seemed impossible to overcome. Now look at how far you've come. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you are no longer where you used to be. That matters. That growth matters. That progress matters. And God sees every step, every prayer, every act of faith, every moment you chose to keep trusting when it would have been easier to quit. Nothing has been wasted. Not a single tear. Not a single disappointment. Not a single lesson. God has been collecting every piece of your story and turning it into something beautiful. That is why you must not allow today's circumstances to define tomorrow's possibilities. Because God specializes in bringing beauty from brokenness, hope from despair, strength from weakness, and victory from situations that once appeared impossible. Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why some of the strongest people carry the deepest scars? It is because strength is often born through struggle. The people who shine the brightest are usually the people who learned how to walk through darkness without losing their faith. And that is exactly what you have been doing. Even when nobody noticed, even when nobody applauded, even when nobody understood, you kept moving forward. You kept believing, and heaven noticed every step. The truth is that your breakthrough is not simply about receiving something. It is about becoming someone. Because when God finally opens the door He has been preparing, you will not walk through it as the person you used to be. You will walk through it as someone refined by faith, strengthened by experience, anchored by wisdom, and guided by a deeper trust in Him. That is why the waiting mattered. That is why the preparation mattered. And that is why your story is about to become a testimony that inspires others. One day someone will hear what you survived and realize they can survive too. One day someone will see your breakthrough and remember that God has not forgotten them either. One day your journey will become proof that delayed does not mean denied, and that what God promises He always fulfills in His perfect timing. So today, chosen one, release the pressure to have everything figured out. Release the fear that you are running out of time. Release the anxiety that tells you nothing is changing, because God is working even now especially now, while you are reading these words, while you are wondering what comes next, while you are searching for clarity. God is already moving, and the next chapter of your life may begin sooner than you think. Not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because God's timing is never late, and when He decides it is time, no obstacle can stop it, no delay can prevent it, and no force can stand against what He has prepared for you. So keep your heart open, keep your faith alive, keep moving forward, because what is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you. And this story is only beginning. And this story is only beginning. Because there is something God wants you to understand before the next chapter unfolds. The breakthrough is not the miracle. The breakthrough is the evidence of a miracle that has been happening inside you all along. Chosen one, for so long you have focused on what has not happened yet, the door that has not opened, the answer that has not arrived, the opportunity that has not appeared, the relationship that has not been restored, the dream that still feels distant, and because your attention has been fixed on what is missing, you may have overlooked what God has already done. Look at your life. You are still here, after everything that tried to break you. You are still here, after every disappointment. You are still here, after every setback. You are still here. That alone is a miracle. Many people only recognize God's hand when mountains move, but sometimes the greatest miracle is the strength He gives you to keep walking while the mountain still stands. That strength has carried you this far, and it will carry you into the season that is coming. Chosen one. There is a reason God allowed certain delays, not because He wanted to hurt you, not because He wanted to punish you, not because He forgot you, but because timing changes everything. Imagine receiving a blessing before you had the wisdom to protect it. Imagine receiving influence before developing humility. Imagine receiving abundance before learning gratitude. What feels like delay is often protection from receiving something too early. God sees the entire picture. He sees consequences you cannot see. He sees opportunities you cannot yet imagine. And He sees the exact moment when preparation meets purpose. That moment is closer than you think. Perhaps you have noticed a shift lately, a strange sense that something is changing, a feeling that one season is ending and another is beginning, a growing desire to leave behind old habits, old fears, and old limitations. These feelings are not random. They are signs. Signs that God is preparing your heart for expansion. Because every new level requires a new mindset. You cannot carry tomorrow's blessing with yesterday's thinking. You cannot step into a bigger purpose while remaining trapped in old fears, and God knows that. That is why He has been renewing your mind during this waiting season. Every lesson mattered. Every challenge mattered. Every moment of uncertainty mattered. Nothing was wasted. Not even the pain. Especially not the pain. Pain has a way of teaching lessons comfort never could. Pain teaches dependence on God. Pain teaches compassion. Pain teaches perseverance. Pain teaches faith. And although nobody enjoys walking through difficult seasons, many of the qualities that define great people are born in difficult places. That includes you. You are not who you used to be. And soon the world will begin to notice, not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because transformation cannot stay hidden forever. People will notice the peace you carry, the confidence in your voice, the strength in your decisions, the hope in your spirit, and they will wonder what changed. What changed is simple. God has been working in you, while others saw waiting. God saw preparation, while others saw weakness. God saw growth, while others saw delay. God saw destiny, and destiny is beginning to move. Chosen one. I want you to think about Joseph again. For years, nothing seemed fair. He was betrayed, forgotten, misunderstood, delayed. Yet every painful chapter was moving him toward a position he never could have reached otherwise. Had Joseph not experienced the pit, he would never have reached the palace. Had he not experienced rejection, he would never have discovered purpose. And perhaps your story is unfolding the same way. Perhaps the chapter that hurt the most will eventually make the most sense. Perhaps the door that closed protected a future blessing. Perhaps the person who left created space for someone better. Perhaps the disappointment that broke your heart was actually guiding you toward your destiny. You do not need every answer today. You only need enough faith to take the next step. God will handle the rest, and that is where true peace begins. Not when every question is answered, but when you trust the one who already knows the answers. So stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. Stop trying to control outcomes that belong to God. Stop exhausting yourself worrying about things He is already working on. You are not alone in this journey. You never were. Even during the nights when you felt forgotten, even during the seasons when nothing made sense, even during the moments when your prayers seemed unanswered, God was there, listening, guiding, protecting, preparing. And now something extraordinary is happening. The pieces are beginning to come together. The lessons are beginning to make sense. The healing is beginning to take root. The vision is becoming clearer, and the future is beginning to reveal itself. Stay with me, chosen one. Because what God is about to reveal next may explain why your waiting season had to last longer than you expected. Because what God is about to reveal next may explain why your waiting season had to last longer than you expected. Chosen one. One of the hardest things to accept is that God's timing rarely matches our timing. We want answers immediately. We want breakthroughs quickly. We want clarity right now. But God often works differently. While we focus on the destination, He focuses on preparation. While we focus on results, He focuses on transformation. And while we are asking, Lord, when will this happen? God is asking, are you becoming the person who can carry what I'm about to release? That question changes everything. Because the delay was never just about waiting. It was about becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more discerning, becoming more dependent on God than on circumstances. Chosen one, there are blessings that look beautiful from a distance, but become burdens when received too early. God knew that. That is why some things took longer. That is why certain prayers remained unanswered. That is why some doors refused to open. Not because heaven was ignoring you, but because heaven was protecting you. You may not realize it today, but one day you will thank God for the opportunities He didn't allow. You will thank Him for the relationships that ended. You will thank Him for the plans that failed. You will thank Him for the delays that frustrated you. Because hindsight often reveals what faith must trust before it can see. There is something powerful happening right now, not around you, within you. Your perspective is changing. Your priorities are changing. Your spirit is changing. And whenever internal transformation begins, external breakthrough usually follows. That is why this season feels different. You are no longer chasing approval the way you once did. You are no longer desperate to prove yourself. You are no longer allowing every setback to destroy your peace. Something has shifted. Something has matured. Something has healed. And that healing is making room for something greater. Chosen one. Many people think breakthrough begins when circumstances change, but often breakthrough begins when your thinking changes. The moment you stop allowing fear to control your decisions. The moment you stop measuring your worth by temporary setbacks. The moment you stop believing the lie that your best days are behind you. That moment becomes the beginning of a new chapter, and perhaps that chapter is opening right now. The truth is, God has been quietly removing things from your life that could not go where He is taking you. Some people had to leave. Some habits had to break. Some expectations had to die. Some old versions of yourself had to disappear. Because the future God prepared requires space. And God is creating that space now. You may have called it loss. God called it preparation. You may have called it disappointment. God called it redirection. You may have called it delay. God called it development. The names are different, but the purpose remains the same. God has been preparing you for something bigger than you currently understand. Think about the strongest seasons of your life. They were rarely the easiest seasons. Most growth happens in places we never would have chosen. Most wisdom comes from lessons we never wanted. Most strength is born from battles we never expected. And yet, here you are, stronger than before, wiser than before, closer to God than before. You survived things that once seemed impossible. You walked through storms that should have destroyed your confidence. You carried burdens that nobody else fully understood. Yet somehow, God sustained you. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was grace. And the same grace that carried you through yesterday is carrying you toward tomorrow. Chosen one, I believe there are people listening right now who have secretly wondered if they missed their opportunity. Maybe you look at your age. Maybe you look at lost time. Maybe you look at mistakes from the past, and sometimes a voice whispers, "It's too late." But that voice is lying, because God is not limited by time. He can restore years. He can create opportunities where none exist. He can accomplish more in one season than you could accomplish in a decade of struggling on your own. The God who created the universe is fully capable of restoring what was lost, and perhaps that restoration is already beginning, not in dramatic ways. Not with loud announcements, but quietly, steadily, powerfully, like a sunrise. At first, the darkness still seems present, but little by little, everything changes. The light grows stronger, the shadows retreat, and before long, what was hidden becomes visible. That is what God is doing in your life. The light is increasing, the direction is becoming clearer, the purpose is becoming stronger, and the breakthrough is becoming closer. You don't need to force it. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to fear missing it. What God has prepared for you cannot be stolen by another person. It cannot be canceled by a mistake. It cannot be destroyed by a temporary setback. If God has spoken it, He will fulfill it. That promise remains true. Chosen one. There is another reason your waiting season lasted longer than expected. God wasn't only preparing the blessing, He was preparing the environment around the blessing. Certain people needed to be positioned, certain opportunities needed to develop, certain circumstances needed to align, certain doors needed to open at exactly the right moment. And because God sees what you cannot see, He knew the perfect timing. What felt slow to you was actually precise. What felt delayed was actually strategic. What felt confusing was actually divine wisdom at work. One day you will look back and realize that if the blessing had arrived earlier, it would not have carried the same impact. Everything had to happen in the right order. Everything had to align. Everything had to be prepared. And now, the signs of alignment are appearing. Your faith is stronger. Your heart is softer. Your wisdom is deeper. Your trust is growing. Those are not random developments. Those are indicators that preparation is nearing completion. And when preparation meets opportunity, everything changes. Stay with me, chosen one. Because the next part of your story is not about what you lost. It's about what God is finally ready to release into your life after all this preparation. And what is coming may be bigger than anything you have imagined so far.